Welcome to eclipse season, welcome to Unfold Your Soul, and thank you so much for joining me as we take a look at the wider astrological landscape of this total lunar eclipse in Sagittarius we have coming up on the 26th of May. We are eclipsing out of and into new realities of relating. Lunar eclipses are always like full moons on uppers, and they come with an extra karmic sauce of change. I will be offering you an energetic background as well as some of the psychological themes this eclipse may bring forward to hopefully help you navigate this eclipse season with love and trust, and for you to own your space within this wider astrological conversation of change. These energies report back to the eclipses we had in Sagittarius in May 2013, May 2002, and May 94 if you were already born and awake and conscious. So while you pour yourself a cup of coffee, water, anything, I will turn this camera down to the chart and see what is up on a deeper level with this healing potential of this beautiful eclipse ahead of us. If the new moon is a planting of a fresh seed, then the full moon is the harvest. Just like the earth surrenders the matter she grows, we complete something. And we are invited to release something, to harvest something in the sign of Sagittarius. With this energy, I feel that we're harvesting a graduation from an awareness of our thought patterns, a graduation of attachment even. Eclipses, they carry fated karmic events, and we can experience those in minor or in major emotionally, yet they will always propel us further, collectively and individually. And when I say karmic, I mean it's on the menu, it's pre-ordered by the universe in collaboration with your soul, and it's on your plate already. You cannot call the waiter and send it back. I do feel that with this eclipse, we don't want to send it back. Where there was a sort of tiredness of working on oneself and learning, repeating the patterns. Or for example, something that comes up is like, I can't believe that this is still about the relationship with my mother or my father. We are now integrating, and events align so we can put into practice our higher awareness. And let's remember as well that Gemini and Sagittarius, they are the axis of learning. With the North Node in Gemini, we are learning correct human relationships. Gemini also represents the school years, where we get our first important education in relating with our playmates, with our teachers. In Gemini, we learn through talking and thinking, through our mental style that we develop, through options also where we have to pick either one thing or the other. Sagittarius is about the bigger picture, about lessons, cosmic and spiritual, that we have learned across lifetimes. With the South Node and the Moon there is a shedding, a letting go of entire belief systems that are ancient, that are old, but very deep-rooted, and that span, like religions, centuries. So these are big energies, and South Node and North Node speak to collective evolution, the karma of the human soul. This is not about failure or success or any lower binary thing. Christianity did not fail. It contributed to our evolution. The Dark Ages were not a failure. From there, the Age of Reason was born, and we could balance things out. So if you are tired of learning yet again what seems the same thing, there is a progress now and so much healing. Another concept that I'm picking up on here is that sometimes a philosophy, just like a person actually, gives you its best insight the moment that you have declared to yourself that you're divorcing it, that you're leaving it, that you're done with it. That's the moment where it can become fully integrated in the personality and become functional in the direct environment, Gemini, reveal its true value, its true function. Our belief systems are receiving an upgrade, and just like a computer program, the first version is not lost. It didn't last, but it's not lost. And just like that, our karmic baggage of beliefs can now, with this eclipse, I feel, become purposeful. With this graduation, we can ask ourselves how to make this very potent awareness of our mental style, of our patterns, more loving towards ourselves and others, and language plays a big part in this. Gemini, as I said, ruled the mental style. So you can choose to say, I am detoxing, or I have a rash, which are two different things. They feel different in the heart. And we are developing a more self-loving language here. What's interesting is that we have a lot less energy in Earth, but we still have Lilith and Pluto forming an interesting trine, and it feels almost like a raw instinctual power. A very ancient form of energy is being transmuted into an action, an event in the world. And I'm talking here about an evolutionary step that your soul has desired to make since many lifetimes. And this is remembered here and now. It might be remembered simply in a readiness to change. It doesn't have to be remembered in a vision of the exact lifetime, which can also happen with these eclipses. Around this action, the images that have been coming up for me while I was meditating on this chart, they are images of peace offerings and healing narratives, rewriting stories. For example, what I saw was building a fountain where once a really tragic violence had happened. Or marriages between two religions, and I was reminded of this journey I made to San Cristobal de las Casas in Mexico, where there was a church in a nearby village, Chamula it was called, where the Mayan faith, so the Mayan tradition and the new faith, the Christian faith, were married in such a beautiful way. And this collaboration is possible. I also had another image of someone in a past life regression, seeing themselves in an incarnation of an indigenous people, and then in an incarnation as well of somebody who colonizes another country. And then a visual of those two hugging. And I know this sounds a bit romantic and idealistic, but at the same time, there is something romantic here in this eclipse that is at once dismantled and restored now. Where it became very sobering last year, we have a restoration, a newness of relationships. If we look at where we were in matters of our relationships to ourselves last May, June 2020, when Venus was in Gemini, we have come such a long way. And this energy of graduation is still playing here. Another image that I had more in this fashion of romance is a marriage with child that lost the husband to a war, a religious war, possible. And it left both souls mourning, and the mother alone to raise the children, still having the man stuck in her memory. That's the moon symbolism, right? And then followed by lifetimes of a sort of premature, hurried attempt to meet one another again, bypassing the maturation process that is our human life. And then this time around, we can choose another way. They can choose another way, and they can confidently build upon the felt potential at the encounter, and then celebrate the emotional expression of both parties and sanctify this relationship in the present by a mutual emotional responsiveness to what is actually going on. And this energy of graduation as well can be for some of us literal, like you're finishing a thesis. You're literally done with one way of approaching relationships, or philosophy is coming to an end, or you're going to a different school. Another image or theme that is coming up with this moon in Sagittarius is the distancing from the mother, the maturation process, or a distancing from the parenting we received. With the moon being in Sagittarius, this can come with a literal distance that is placed between you and your mother, or between you and your child. And this is for both mother and child to become more embodied in their new roles in the world, an adjustment of these roles. If your parents are no longer with you, this can also relate to a belief system that has been carried on through the lineage that you are now ready to see, or you have seen it actually, and you have embodied it, you have processed it, and you're ready to move on. Such a beautiful energy of forgiveness and moving on here. With Jupiter, the ruler of Sagittarius and of this eclipse, Jupiter has freshly entered Pisces, is at 1 degree here, and it's so beautiful for the spirit of letting go, as Pisces is the harbor of ultimate forgiveness, of absolution. And Jupiter is first going to illuminate the more challenging part of the letting go of the narrative. So Jupiter is addressing the fear of letting go of what we've learned. And I have to think here about the Diamond Sutra of the Buddha, where it's written, kill your teachers, kill your parents, kill all obstacle on the way. And kill your parents, it might seem like a far stretch from honor your parents, but actually it isn't. It's a different way of honoring them. We have to grow beyond the teaching and see the reality of things. And the teaching itself, however beautiful and illuminating, has to be alchemized into function. Otherwise, it can become an obstacle to life. And first, with this square of Jupiter, we might still be experiencing a clinging or even a sense of sacrifice, because perhaps it took us a while to get to this psychological revelation and insight. And especially when big chapters of our lives are closing, for example, you finished high school or university, or you are letting go of a child who's going to live on his own. This can be a big thing that we need to walk to the edge. Letting go, let's talk about that. There's no true letting go without integration, right? It's said that nothing is truly learned until we feel it in our body. And that's what a full moon eclipse also offers, to really feel it in our body. Let's say you've learned this and that about your relationship to your mother. Lunar eclipses are female. And you learned how that defined your belief system about your own gender role and your relationships with women. Moving beyond, you would see how you would observe basically how you would reproduce this pattern in your personal relationships. By observing it, you're no longer a victim of it. Now with Jupiter in Pisces and also Neptune there, we can integrate through feeling. Where and how can we bring love to the personality devastating lessons of life? Seeing the patterns has allowed us already to make wiser choices, to be more discerning in alignment with our new set of values, with our matured self-worth as well, when we look at the Venus journey. Of course, the extreme of seeing the patterns and attachment to the story can cause us to avoid intimacy altogether. And that's what we're transcending here with this eclipse. And it's all right. Perhaps we needed to walk this story to the very edge of it for us just to root our self-love. And Saturn is appreciating this effort. At a trine to this eclipse, it's holding space at degree 13 of Aquarius. And what this means for me is that for all of us, true emancipation from the first teacher is possible, whether that is from the Earth Mother, Father, or a belief system that has been in the driver's seat for a very long time. And there is more support here. Both the karmic planet Saturn and the wounded healer Chiron are harmoniously breathing with this eclipse. When it comes to Chiron, we have chewed the first 11 degrees of Chiron in Aries. And after the delivery of the news, Chiron now empowers our healing journey by showing us that we have our own voice, that we are not that helpless child anymore. And Jupiter and Neptune, swimming in Pisces, can help us tremendously to beautify the narrative of our childhood and the parenting we received. Also with North Node in Gemini, accompanied by the Sun, Mercury, and Venus, there's a lot of energy there, and I feel this gives us ample opportunity to express our spiritual understandings in terms of our behavior and responses to our loved ones, to our friends, and to people who matter to us. And there has been a huge purge in our relationships as well. Neptune is now at a more mature degree in Pisces, and in Pisces, he has been spiritualizing the world at large. 22 degrees, that's where he's at, and numerologically, this is a beautiful number. It's the great healer. What I sense is that he can help us to find that balance between remembering and forgetting. We cannot really make progress if we cling to the past, but we also have to honor our experiences to grow. That's what's happening here. We identify the truth, our discoveries, and go beyond that. We know what it means for our evolution now and begin to embody the codes and languages we have been developing and watering. Let's look at this Gemini party here for a moment. That's really interesting. We have Venus and Mercury quite close together, and then the North Node and the Sun, of course, they're in Gemini. And so yes, this eclipse comes with a friendliness, Venus and Mercury together. So we have people with whom we can live what we've learned and go beyond, or new people are coming into our atmosphere. But this closeness of Venus and Mercury is particularly interesting to me because Mercury is the personality ruler of Gemini, but Venus rules Gemini on a soul level. Venus wants to harmonize. Venus as the soul ruler of Gemini offers that our experience of duality, of the binary of good and bad and the endless varieties of that, this experience of the dual, of the twin within, has only ever been invented to help us understand and feel the beauty of oneness. Like a piano goes very well with the fingers that play the keys. Like the chicken and the egg are born together. We enjoy also a full moon against the black sky, the white moon against the black sky. The question is here, are we going to use the energy of duality to stay stuck in the densest form of our humanity? Are we going to cling to the illusion of conflict and continue to practice politics? I do have faith that we can rise higher and embrace this harmony, become loving witnesses of our own duality. The other day I was out with a couple where one had the vaccine and the other one didn't. And their opinions could perfectly coexist. They didn't see this as a problem. This is the possibility of oneness within the human condition. And healthier ways of expression of our duality are here, ways that respect the sovereignty of every human being, instead of having to have the same opinion for like-mindedness. The archetype of Gemini we are adding on to, we can appreciate and love our human genius, our creativity of the mind, and that's where we find that like-mindedness. Neptune has been preparing the grounds for Jupiter. And Neptune is squaring this Mercury and Venus together in Gemini, working, collaborating. We can now see how endings are good for us. Even the devastating shattering of our illusions around love, the romantic ideals, all that purge that happened in 2020 with that Venus journey, all of that we can see how that contributes to a better present. And our mind might still be very productive here, but the light on the past is such that we can see how everything that has ended contributed to our more beautiful presence in the world right now. And we have such a better relationship with ourselves in this moment. There is a blossoming and a heart opening. Once a teacher told me the practice for the heart chakra in the process of opening is to suspend like and dislike. So he basically invited us to be Venus, to go experience life and people and events energetically, to experience duality as a means to feel our connectedness. So that being said, Venus in Gemini can feel from the mind. Venus is linked to the healing of the mind and addresses overthinking as a collective issue. So as we eclipse here out of belief systems, we can now introduce our minds to some new associations. Courage and strength equal openness and vulnerability. I would encourage you, if there are feelings of resentment lingering or you have unfinished business, to write the swan song to yourself, to address yourself as your best friend, and just get it on the paper. If you absolutely and unconditionally loved yourself, Jupiter in Pisces, how would you tell this story to yourself? I feel very strongly that this North Node in Gemini is about becoming our own best friend. It's eventually from a more beautiful relationship with ourselves that we can share ourselves so much better. As we find this inner balance between our higher and our lower self, it can still be very much about being in or out of the convent and in and out of the convent, but we are feeling good about that. We are feeling good about the present with all its quirks. A newfound emotional appreciation of ourselves is rising here. Where have I been all my life? That kind of thing. And I really like that energy. Choosing what chooses you, but with a lot less resistance than before. And for those for whom this particularly resonates, I just received this date looking at the chart, and this is just an intuitive channeling, but for mid-August there is an arrival, an unfolding of this heart-opening journey Jupiter in Pisces brings. I also see a new relationship with humor and laughter being born. If you're no longer laughing about your deepest pain and wounds, it means that the digestion has happened at a profound level, and that we can have a happy funeral of some opinions and ideas that eclipse us into new friendships, where we can embody our new way of relating. Then one last thing that's coming up here for me is the aesthetic of emotion. If you think of it, the cosmos is bringing water back. Jupiter and Neptune are in Pisces, and Mars is still in Cancer. The masculine part within ourselves is deepening its ability to feel. This is a wonderful opportunity to work with the arts. They are such a great way to filter and to process, to shift our minds off the details and conflict, and to beautify our memory as well. Writing, journaling, but also music and singing can be absolutely wonderful during these times. If you would like to do some therapy, sound therapy, also regression therapy, and past life astrology, of course, feel welcome to reach out. I don't think that I mentioned this, but people who have planets or angles around the 5th degree of the mutable signs, which are Sagittarius, Gemini, Virgo, Pisces, they most likely will be more affected by this eclipse. So if you are transitioning through something particular, do feel welcome to reach out. Meanwhile, let's eclipse well together and up to the future. Thank you so much for coming along on this ride with me. I love to read you, so let me know in the comments below what comes up for you during this eclipse. Thank you also for subscribing if you have not done so yet. That really helps the channel forward. Thank you so much for doing that. And then I will see you again at the solar eclipse of the 10th of June. Thank you so much. Namaste.